This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on challenges of heavy rainfall and management. The participants are Tripti Parule, former advisor, National Disaster Management Authority, and Aditi Tandon, journalist.
More than 36 people have been killed in the hilly regions of the north and also in the plains of the east after monsoon rains that are continuing have triggered a range of weather events including flash floods, landslides, house collapses, and normal life has been upended across vast swaths of the country. Tripti ji, you are also watching that in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, in Orissa and in Jharkhand especially, we've seen a lot of loss of life and property over the past 2 days, and the IMD has predicted heavy rainfall in Madhya Pradesh and in Rajasthan over the coming 2 days. How do you see these extreme weather events?
Some of these events were predicted by IMD. Some we could not predict, and obviously heavy rainfalls and sudden landslides and all that, there are a lot of factors for it responsible. Therefore, we cannot predict it. And that's why we see lots of loss of lives, especially.
Right. Do you think there's any way in which better predictions, at least of, for instance, events like heavy rainfall, cloudbursts and landslides can happen? Because these are events that are now progressively rising. If we look at the past few months, we've had a lot of landslides and cloudbursts.
Aditi ji, during the rainfall, and because the rainfall patterns are going haywire these days, because of the environmental changes, because of a lot of other reasons, a lot of construction has been happening in the hilly areas, especially road construction and private constructions also, which is affecting a lot of these kind of, especially landslides. So even if you predict that there is a heavy rainfall, you can never ever predict any kind of landslide situation in such kind of terrains. It's very difficult. Precaution we can take.
We were looking at these challenges that we've seen, especially in Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand this year. And you might recall, Tripti ji, that even in the Amarnath Yatra, there was a lot of hurdle on account of cloudburst that was on July 18 and 19. So according to you, can the governments do better in order to manage such events? Because you're saying you cannot predict such things, but you can actually prevent perhaps through precaution.
Something, again, in every disaster, there's something pre-disaster management and during disaster and after disaster. So most of the natural disaster we can do after and pre. During we can't do much, we just have to keep ourselves in some safe location or something. In the case of landslides and cloudburst also, like if there is a heavy rainfall, that is during the rainfall season, some occurrence will be there. So before that, we have to be prepared. And cloudbursts have become a very common phenomena in last 10 years. Before that, cloudburst was like one heard of phenomena. But now it's like 5-6 times we see cloudbursts happening in different terrains. Those kind of things can bring lot of kind of situations. It can create a lot of situations which can't be then handled or can be handled with a lot of difficulties. So more of the awareness that government can create. And people will also have to get aware. You cannot take the risk of driving during rainfall time. And government tries to stop people, government tries to warn people, like in Uttarakhand. I've been watching it myself. There have been a lot of warnings been given by the government. And because of the road construction, the mountains have become way more vulnerable. Therefore, lots of landslides have happened in one of the highways itself. So those kind of things will occur.
You were saying a while ago that governments also perhaps need to keep a check on unbridled construction activities in, vulnerable hilly terrains like Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir also. So do you think there can be any kind of, mapping studies that the government should actually start conducting? Because we do not have any such planning with respect to construction activities, although we do have laws that bar non-residents from buying land in these areas.
I remember that NIDM and NDMA brought out a lot of regularities and also some kind of, regulations that how the construction should happen, why the construction should not happen, where the construction must not happen, and those kind of things. So if we start getting these things applied properly, I think a lot of mishaps and a lot of fatal things will be able to save.
Also, we have seen a number of news items, Tripti ji, of late, which tell us that, nearly 5,000 vehicles enter Shimla, for instance, over the weekend.
Yes.
Saturday, Sunday. And as you said just now that a number of tourists enter, hilly state capitals, and there's overcrowding and there is, excessive burden on very vulnerable routes. So why can't the state government bring out some kind of a policy to regulate entry of vehicles into, hilly areas, especially important vulnerable towns like Shimla?
Yeah.
Weekends at least, when a lot of tourists tend to rush into these cities. Can that be done? Can a regulation to the effect of regulating vehicles into hilly towns be brought out? Is that something other countries have tried?
See, the thing is that, our population is definitely a problem and a situation. Any government cannot say, okay, you are coming in and we are going to stop these many numbers and after that we are not going to allow vehicles. Cities like or towns like Nainital, Almora, Shimla, Mussoorie, these are the cities or the towns which sees huge influx of people over a weekend. Smaller spaces like Rishikesh, those are the places they see huge influx of people. Now, obviously, government can regulate, can ask them to stop at a distance, can have some more other kind of vehicle arrangement between to and fro from their parking areas and all that. But yeah, cannot stop completely. The influx can't be stopped completely, but the awareness can be created in the big cities nearby, like Chandigarh, Delhi, Ludhiana, where the crowd comes to. So those kind of things can happen, and that can bring in more, aware people towards, or people would be more careful while traveling, over the weekend towards the cities.
So you are calling for more responsible behavior on the part of citizens, and tourists.
Government also that more awareness should be created. More regulation should happen. Regulation in the terms that, better parking areas or something else. Some other arrangements can be made. But you can't really have 5,000, 10,000 vehicles one day entering Shimla kind of small town. Or, Mussoorie kind of a very small tiny place, or Nainital kind of a space where because of the influx of this heavy vehicle, we see some 3 hours, 4 hours type of traffic jam.
Triptiji, since you have a lot of expertise in this area, I just wanted to draw your attention to a very important answer the government gave in the just concluded monsoon session of Parliament when they were asked how many landslides happened in India over the past 7 years. And Jitendra Singh, who is Minister of State Independent Charge for Earth Sciences, said that 3,782 major landslides happened in India between 2015 and 2022. What does that figure show you? What does it mean to you?
That shows that, we are heading towards another 2013 tragedy. We need to make ourselves very, very, very aware and very cautious. All of us need to come together. And I'm really thankful to All India Radio for creating such kind of spaces, for especially dedicating it to disaster management, because it's extremely important for a vulnerable country like India. For a country like India, which has been affected by so many different kinds of natural disasters, through these kind of things, we can probably reach out to a lot of people.
When we talk of the factors that are responsible for these kind of landslides and cloudbursts, a very important work that the Geological Survey of India is doing is that they are conducting what they call a National Landslide Susceptibility Mapping. This work started in 2014. And
yes.
We are told that they've mapped as much as 430,000 square kilometers of different landslide-prone states. What does this mapping do? Will it help locals and will it help governments in managing landslide situations better?
These kind of mappings, usually it is done in certain kinds of hilly terrains and all that. But those are the places, they map only very vulnerable areas. And, areas where there's no trees and all that kind of thing. But if there's a road construction happening, and because of that, a hill has been cut or something like that, those are the areas that can't be mapped. And whatever that your number gave is a very small number when you look at the area. It sounds a big number on your paper, but it's a very small area.
Do you think this kind of mapping should be expanded to other areas like you are suggesting?
Yes, definitely. It will be expanded by all means over a period of time. But what I'm trying to say is there's also a lot of other areas which will always stay out of this mapping area. And there also a lot of troubles and problems can happen because of sudden landslides.
Also, post-disaster investigations of landslides in the country has revealed that the major trigger, like you also said earlier, are unprecedented high rainfall situations. But there are other factors also, Triptiji, geo-factors such as terrain character, land use, land cover. These are areas that are within the remit of the state governments, and they can do better in managing these factors, right?
Definitely, Aditi ji, like we can do seed balls. Government can do seed balls. We can start, throwing seed balls with the help of drone, or there are so many technologies that have come up, open areas, all the vulnerable mountain areas and terrains, and we can start growing plants which very, very belongs to the local terrain, which can hold on to the soil, which can hold on to the rocks, which can prevent a great deal disaster. So those kind of very smaller activity that can be done with the help of self-help groups and panchayats and all the other kind of systems that we have it in place already. And that can be easily be handled by local government.
That's an excellent and very practical suggestion that you've given, that plants that can hold the soil are very important to grow.
Yeah, like there is a plant called Rambas in Uttarakhand. Now that plant never gets burned during, forest fire, and also holds on to 40% of the soil erosion and all that kind of things during a natural disaster.
So a very resilient plant, like you said.
Very resilient plant. Yes.
And secondly, just one more thing before we wind up. There are anthropogenic factors, GSI has also pointed out, which contribute to landslides. Anthropogenic are all factors that are caused on account of human activity, such as blocking of drainages has also been cited as one of the factors that could actually aggravate landslides. What do you have to say on that?
Yes, absolutely. And we must be doing something, especially in the hill areas. As I said, Aditi ji, the numbers that's been presented by the Honorable Minister this time in the Parliament for the landslide. And these are really scary numbers for that matter. And if these are the landslide number that is reaching the government, you please multiply at least 5 times more that is happening on the ground, because there are smaller landslides and all that which never get, recorded. So those are also the kind of things that happen. So definitely we must take very local measures, very simple measures, but we need to stop all this kind of things.
Right. And among landslide figures, you will be very surprised to know that Kerala tops the list with 2,239 landslides over the past 7 years, followed by Tamil
Aditi,
Nadu
I am
and
not
surprised
about Kerala's number, because Kerala has become a very, very susceptible to landslides and all that, and this was predicted again long back because of the way they are cutting their forests, the way they are clearing their forests for different kinds of agricultural activities and constructions and all that. So I'm not at all surprised with the Kerala number.
Second and third positions are taken by Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, Triptiji, followed by Jammu, Kashmir and Himachal.
Well, Uttarakhand is also one of the states, definitely is there and is very susceptible and very vulnerable. And especially the Garhwal region is more vulnerable than the Kumaon region. So yeah, these are the places which is extremely vulnerable, and the only reason is that we are really not taking care of the environment here.
Right. I think you've pretty much summed up everything, and you have basically said that citizens need to take control of, their own behavior with respect to environmental and natural conservation, and governments can only do that much. That's parting message to the people from your side, Triptiji.
Aditi ji, I would say government should also increase the awareness. Government should reach via the district level by, DMs at the district level, and that kind of thing. And DM should reach out to panchayat. Panchayat should reach out to, self-help group and all that. And if that involvement happen, only be able to recover ourselves, and we will be able to take pre-disaster, precautions.
So you are recommending a bottom-up approach. Thank you so much for your time, Triptiji.
Thank you, Aditi ji.
You are listening to a discussion on challenges of heavy rainfall and management. The participants were Tripti Parule, former advisor, National Disaster Management Authority, and Aditi Tandon, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.